I don't like the new voice of Sonic. I hate it. Nothing against the man. He seems like a really nice guy. The fans love him. I'm gonna agree on that as a person, because he seems like a really nice dude. You know, a really nice bro and all that. But I hate his voice as Sonic. I really hate it. And I'm very perplexed as to why the fans love the new voice of Sonic. And it's not new anymore. He's been doing the voice since, like, Colors, right? You know, again, Sonic as a character always had, like, a squeaky kind of voice, you know? And that was his voice.
Way past cool, huh? How do you like the entrance? You know, the way I come flying in, hit the old Axl Rose pose right on the downbeat.
Every force in Robotropolis is on our butts, and you're wigging out over a mouse?
All I have to do is cruise this coast. Pinball. So, this is Angel Island.
And they made sure that was how his voice sounded in everything that he appeared in. When they casted Urkel to do the voice of Sonic in the 90s cartoons, that was Sonic's voice. And then, when the adventure games came out, they kept his voice sounding like that. It sounded like Jaleel White's voice. They wanted him to do the impression of that, because that is Sonic's voice. He has that kind of, like, pitch to his voice. And, you know, Sonic he's a legacy character. He's been around for a long time. So you can't drastically change the voice of a beloved cartoon character after the voice has been the same for, like, fucking 10, 15 years or some shit, you know? And that's what they fucking did, and it was a disgrace. Do you see that happening with fucking Bugs Bunny? You know, Bugs Bunny, like, no matter who voiced him, his voice was always, what's up, Doc? That was always his voice. They never did anything like that with Woody Woodpecker or Bugs Bunny or whoever the fuck, Mario. They'd never do that. Oh, but Sega, Sega now is a joke. They're getting better as a company, but ever since the Dreamcast died, I mean, ever since, like, the early 2000s died, Sega turned into this trash game company. And, you know, it's not the same people working there anymore, and the old-timers that were still there during the Dreamcast era, they all thought the Dreamcast was going to take off and live forever. I really wish it did, and I'm pissed off that the Dreamcast ended. I still am. I'm going to make a whole other video about that. But, you know how people talk about in the game industry, I know I'm changing the subject, but, you know, people talk about in the game industry, especially, like, when the 2000s happened, way back when, they called it the Big Three. Nintendo, Sony, Xbox. The Big Three. It should have always been the Big Four. Sega should have still been around. Like, when the next generation happened, it should have been Xbox 360, Nintendo GameCube, the PS2, and then it should have been, like, the Dreamcast 2. Like Sega should have kept going, and it should have been the Big Four until today. It's sad. But anyway, that's a whole other video. I just thought I'd quickly say that. This shit's important, you know? Yeah, they shouldn't have done that to Sonic's voice when Colors happened. I was the only one at the time that complained about it in 2009. I didn't hear shit from anyone else, because apparently most Sonic fans just care about the gameplay of Sonic. Who gives a fuck about the cutscenes and the story and the characters? Fuck all that shit. Sonic's just about the gameplay, right? No, pig shit. No, Sonic is special because there's so much potential you can do with his world. So much potential, you can put him in all this stuff. There's more to Sonic that's amazing than just his gameplay. Yeah, the Sonic gameplay was unique for its time in the 90s, and it's still special. But it's not the only thing that made the character special. It's not. And it never was. Even back in the 90s, even during the Genesis era, it wasn't the only thing that was cool about Sonic. It was the character's personality. It was the world. It was the characters in the comics, in the cartoons, and in the games. When you change the tone and the voice of an established, legendary cartoon character to a lot of people, it doesn't feel like the same character anymore. It just feels distant. It feels odd. Like, they made a new Muppet show on Disney Plus or whatever, and I forgot the name of it. And they gave Kermit a new voice actor. Again, nothing against the person doing his voice as a person, but I didn't like the new voice of Kermit in that show. And there was a lot of people that agreed with me. I was reading the comments, and this one comment was hilarious that said something like, the green character looks familiar. I don't recognize his voice, though. Well, yeah, because exactly. He doesn't feel like he's Kermit if he doesn't fucking sound like Kermit, you know? So why is it important to do that for Kermit and Bugs Bunny, but not for Sonic? Why? In the 90s, Sonic became more recognizable than Mickey Mouse. You know, they would never change the voice of Mickey, right? So why change the voice of Sonic? It's laziness, and it's giving up. You know, during the dark age of Sonic, it was like they were trying to make new Sonic fans, and they were kind of like taking a crap on the old Sonic fans that loved the adventure games and shit like that. And again, you know, this is like fucking Disney Star Wars. You know, Disney Star Wars, like, they tried to establish new fans with their new trilogy, and it half worked. But they took a crap on the old fans, and that's a shitty thing to do to a fan base. You don't ignore all the fans. Sorry, you just don't do that. Especially not when they built up the whole legacy of what these series are. I don't think there is any fan base that's more divided and divisive than the Sonic video game series as a game series. Yeah, people argue in other series, but the Sonic series is something special with all the divisiveness. I mean, it might be even more divisive than the Star Wars series. I mean, Star Wars is like in second place. It always makes me wonder if they did make a Sonic Adventure 3, for instance. Say it failed, right? All right, make another one. Don't let it be like, oh, it's the be-all and end-all. If it fails, we're never ever doing it again. Really? You can stumble and stumble and stumble, but eventually you will succeed. Do not fucking give up. You know who has that attitude? Sonic the fucking Hedgehog. Okay?
What you see is what you get. Just a guy that loves adventure. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic took risks because he can, because he's a badass. Running around at the speed of sound, all that good shit. Just try. Fucking make Sonic Adventure 3 already, for God's sakes. Take your time. I don't give a fuck. Take 5 years to make it, you know? Make it great, and if it has problems, make another one and make it better. That's what you do with a game series. When you have passion for a game series, you don't play it safe all the time. It's lazy. These new 2D Sonic games are lazy as fuck. Sonic is supposed to be better than this, and like he used to be, he should be again.
You know, what can I say? I die hard.